Three scientists are shown walking towards the beach at the beginning of the film. This story about the dead giant will be told to us by one of Steven's men. The day before yesterday, there was a massive storm in this sea. As a result, a dead giant washed up on the beach, and the fishermen were taken aback when they saw the giant. They notify the police, but no one believes them. As people visit the beach, they have only giant stories to tell. The scientist chooses to go to the beach. They were watching the giant in front of them. They have heard about it many times. There were a lot of people who came to see the giant. None were touching him. Everyone was scared of him. Steven and his men estimate his weight to be around 80 tons. Steven claims that assuming a giant sage is extremely difficult. Steven says, while seeing his nose and eyes, that he is a young giant. The scientists were researching while standing near the giant's body. During this, Steven goes near that giant's hand. It looked like a pond, but his hand was so big that it appeared to be a pond after the water collected in it. The most shocking aspect of the giant, according to Steven, is that these giants still exist. They compare the people standing on the beach with the giant. They are incomplete copies of the giant. Steven was shocked after seeing them. Meanwhile, his colleague went up the giant. She informs the people present that he is safe. When they hear it, they all rush to the giant's body. They become happy after doing this. Someone was having a good time bouncing on the giant's body. Steven never touches it or even sits on it. On the other hand, his colleagues were making notes about the giant. Because the number of people who played with the giant was dwindling over time, everyone was going to their homes. Steven comes back here after 3 days. His interest has increased in that giant. He claims he is not facing any problems while keeping an eye on the monster. The giant seemed to be more alive than the people around him. He noticed some kids were sliding on the giant. Some people were preparing to cut this giant. He decides to stop late near the giant. As a result, there will be none near giant. When he gets close to the giant, he notices that he is decaying and that his body parts are strange. He notices a girl on that giant seer. She was using the giant's seer as a chair. Steven notices the giant's youthful look is disappearing. He no longer appears to be young. This is due to his staying for a long time in the sea. His tissues were damaged. Due to that, his body was damaged. Steven notices an insect on that giant's face. It was going inside his mouth. Steven goes into the giant with courage, believing that the giant will decay before the insect arrives. After getting on the chest of the giant, he saw the giant's arm. It was totally decayed. The other parts were being eaten by insects and birds. Here, a weird thing covers his eyes. It was giving him a pond's look in his eyes. Steven thinks while seeing his shadow in his eyes that the pain of decaying is less than the pain that loneliness gave him. Then he leaves. The next day, Steven sees the giant's arms and legs have decayed. Now he was staring at his body. The giant's body was being insulted. There was none other than the humans who were insulting him. Even the giant was also a human-like creature. The next day, upon reaching the giant, he notices the giant's head has also been removed. The birds and insects are eating the giant. Without a head, his body didn't look like a human. With it, Steven's relationship with the giant deteriorated. That was made by the dead body. Then he didn't come to the beach for some days. After some weeks, when he comes to the beach, seeing it, he gets shocked. The giant is completely depleted. Now there's only the decayed gird of the giant left. Now they all lose interest in the giant. People forget the entry of the giant after some months. One day, while cycling, there were the different parts of the giant as decoration pieces everywhere. Steven notices the giant's skull in the ground. He believes that if he searches, he will also find the eyes and nose bones. According to Steven, the decoration pieces were more made by the giant's bones than the memories that are in Steven's mind. Some of the body parts of the giant were also placed in the circus. The scientist says the one who has seen the giant says they consider him the monster. For those who were dead, the giant was still alive. In his dreams, he frequently sees the giant departing his city to go back to the sea. He was collecting his body parts from the city. This movie gives us a deep message. How does a human enter other people's lives and leave an impression on them? He teaches the people and learns from them. People forget him when he leaves the world. Even after days, months, and years have passed, no one remembers him. In the same way we saw in this movie, how does a giant arrive and attract others? Then something happened, and no one remembered him after days, months, and years had passed. Actually, this is the bitter truth of human life. People remember a person as long as he is alive. People forget the human if he dies after a few days.